Grand Rising, happy Sunday. I pray everybody got started in a positive, productive mindset today. If not, I pray that your angels, ancestors, spirit guides, and of course the Most High help you with that today. I also pray that He clothes us in His armor from head to toe, that He strengthens our discernment and guides our steps as we go throughout this day. That being said, I'm here to do the daily devotion from Sarah Young's Jesus Calling for October 20th, 2024. I am your living God, far more abundantly alive than the most vivacious person you know. The human body is wonderfully crafted, but gravity and the inevitable effects of aging weigh it down. Even the most superb athlete cannot maintain his fitness over many decades. Lasting, abundant life can be found in me alone. Do not be anxious about the weakness of your body. Instead, view it as the prelude to my infusing energy into your being. As you identify more and more fully with me, my life becomes increasingly intertwined with yours. Though the process of aging continues, inwardly you grow stronger with the passing years. Those who live close to me develop an inner aliveness that makes them seem youthful in spirit of their years, in spite of their years. Let my life shine through you as you walk in the light with me. She references Psalm 139, verse 14, Colossians chapter 1, verse 29, and 1 John chapter 1, verse 7. Boy, can't we all relate to that? It's important that we take care of our body, not only physically, but spiritually. Yes, there is only so much that we can do to stop the aging process, to stop the wrinkles, to stop the deterioration of our bones, our muscle mass, whatnot. It's important that we strive to keep a healthy body and to take care of it as much as we can so that it can thrive as long as it can. But it's also very important to nourish it spiritually as well. Physical wellness, physical health can very much be affected by your spiritual health. If you're depressed and angry and stressed and worried and sad and just frustrated all the time, it takes a toll on your body. The most common thing that they speak about is the cortisol. When we're stressed and anxious and worried all the time, we have higher rates of cortisol, which cause us to gain weight, which cause us to retain water. But there's a lot of other things, emotionally, spiritually, that can affect our health, that can really cause our body to deteriorate faster than the lack of taking care of it physically. I've said it for years now that stress will kill you quicker than a heart attack. Stress can cause a heart attack, just as much as our physical maintenance can affect the length and the quality of life. A lot of people neglect the spiritual part, which I've always been aware of the physical, material, things that we're supposed to do. But for a long time, the spiritual part is what hindered me, because my spiritual health, my mental health, is what kept me going back to those old unhealthy habits. And I don't say that to mean that I've necessarily overcome those things. We all have moments of weakness. We all have times where we may not be mentally spiritually as strong as we would like to be or that we need to be. And in those times, our weakness shows physically. Whether, we return to old habits or we develop new habits that aren't necessarily good habits. It's very important. Very early on in my journey, I used to have it as my intro thing. You have to start healing the inside, and eventually it will show on the outside. And that's your spiritual health, your emotional health, your mental health. And I realize that it's hard. I deal with it every day. Right now, I'm very much struggling with it because I'm attempting to completely quit tobacco for the last time. I'm also attempting to kick the sugar habit and the carb habit. I had pretty much eliminated carbs and then very much got sucked back into the deliciousness of them. And so, as I've said so many times in past videos, we have to be able to hold ourselves accountable when things like that happen. Forgive yourself for, falling off the wagon, falling back into old habits or to old routines, but don't use that as an excuse to just stay there. It's very important not only that we hold ourselves accountable, but that we also motivate ourselves to bounce back. When you're constantly surrounded by temptation, it's very difficult. Not only does it test you physically, but it tests you spiritually. And of course, ideally, the more you go... Let me turn this heater down. I'm starting to get hot. Ideally, the more times we go through that, the less often it will happen, right? But hopefully, going through those moments, those trials, we learn how to not end up back in that same situation. And something I learned a long time ago was if I try to implement too many changes at one time, I get overwhelmed. It becomes too much, and I just give up on it altogether. Of course, everybody's different. Just like with the quitting tobacco, there's people in this world that can just quit cold turkey and never look back. Mine hasn't been like that. Like I talked earlier in the week about the baby steps. Pretty much every habit that I've broken with baby steps. With the tobacco, first it was kicking the menthol. Then, because I was a menthol cigarette smoker for like 20 years, over 20 years probably. So I kicked the menthol first. Then, like a year and a half later, kicked cigarettes altogether. And I had been using cigars as my crutch. Which in reality, there's a deeper reason for that too. But nonetheless, it was still a crutch. And so now this is me taking that final step to completely kick it all together. And something important to remember, and we've heard it ever since we were kids, the people that you hang around are going to influence you. So say you have somebody that's an alcoholic and they're trying to quit drinking. The last thing that person needs to do is go hang out with a bunch of people that are drinking all the time. And same thing with smoking or eating or anything else. You have people that every celebration, every time they get together, it's always about food. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be if the food isn't healthy food. If it's a bunch of junk food and, sodas and chocolate and, chips and cakes and stuff that's really not good for us. So it's about sometimes shifting those traditions, changing those traditions to where, you make healthier choices. You offer healthier alternatives. No matter what area you're talking about, whether it's, entertainment that you're consuming, food, beverages that you're consuming, mental stimulation that you're consuming, whatever it is that you're bringing into your life, it's always important to try to find a healthier alternative if you can. Something that I'm really going to try to stick to is when I get to craving to wanting to smoke, I'm going to get up and exercise for 10 minutes. 11:11 on the timer. They say that if you can just do something to distract yourself from the craving for 10 minutes, that craving will pass. And of course, most people know that with exercise, it stimulates different, serotonins and different kind of chemicals in your brain, which are the same chemicals that are stimulated when we consume something that we're addicted to. So, if you didn't know that, I'm glad to be able to share that information with you. The same thing, they used to offer the example of drinking a bottle of water. When you're trying to quit smoking, when you crave a cigarette, just sit there and drink a bottle of water. You can finish a bottle of water in about 10 minutes, which is about how long it takes to smoke a cigarette. Healthy alternatives, healthy distractions, healthy options versus, what you're trying to put down. Let me look at this one. It's just... It says, even the most superb athlete cannot maintain his fitness over many decades. So if you put that into this perspective of, making changes, even the person with the strongest willpower, over time, if you're constantly being faced with that temptation, eventually you're going to give. So the key is to not put yourself in a situation where you are tempted. And like I talked earlier in the week, the longer you go, the easier it will be to turn down that temptation. But that still doesn't mean that you want to constantly surround yourself and bombard yourself with temptation. The whole goal is to eliminate it altogether. Because in reality, if we're using the birds of a feather flock together theory, you are who you surround yourself with. And if you no longer resonate with being a smoker, you don't really want to surround yourself with other smokers or drinkers or, overeaters, whatever, fill in the blank. Just like... if you want to bring it biblically, a liar and a thief, once they're born again and they're not a liar and a thief anymore, they don't want to be around people that are liars and thieves, because you've leveled up, you've upgraded. You don't want to be around that negativity anymore. Just like people that are angry or jealous or envious. If you've leveled up and you've matured in your spirituality and you don't experience that anymore, you don't really want to be around people that embrace that. Dealing and coping with it is one thing. Overcoming it is helping people overcome it is one thing. But unfortunately, there are people that embrace that. Even if they wear a good mask and they fake it and they lie to themselves and they lie to other people that they don't really live that lifestyle. You know, if you used to live that lifestyle and you don't anymore, you're going to know the difference. So just be aware of what you consume, physically and spiritually. And as always, be grateful for what you have, the big, the small, and the blessings yet to come. If you see a need out there today, tomorrow, next week, if there's any possible way that you can fill that need, please do so. You may not only better their day, but you could possibly change their life, and you never know the impact it can have on yours. See you next time.